Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news out of the Middle East. The diplomatic channels have completely collapsed. Tonight, Iran has instantly and publicly rejected President Donald Trump's proposal to end the war, calling the American offer nothing more than a demand for surrender. For the past several days, the Trump administration has been using intermediaries in Egypt and Pakistan to try and open a line of communication with Tehran. But the response from Iran is a flat refusal. Not only did they reject the deal, but they also made it clear who they will not speak to. Iranian officials stated they will not hold any negotiations with U.S. envoys Jared Kushner or Steve Witkoff, labeling them backstabbing negotiators. Instead, Iran has put forward its own set of demands. They are telling the White House that if the United States wants to talk about ending this conflict, the Trump administration must first agree to a very specific list of terms. These terms are a complete non-starter for Washington. First, Iran is demanding the closure of all United States military bases in the Gulf region. Second, they want a new framework for the Strait of Hormuz. Under this plan, Iran would collect transit fees from every ship that passes through the waterway, similar to how Egypt operates the Suez Canal. Furthermore, Iran is demanding an end to all international sanctions. They are requiring Israel to halt all operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon. They are refusing to allow any discussions regarding their ballistic missile program. And finally, they want guaranteed assurances that the U.S. and Israel will never launch another strike on Iranian soil. The message from Tehran was blunt. The top spokesperson for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard released a statement directed at the U.S. president. He said, "You have reached a stage where you are now negotiating with yourselves. Do not call your defeat an agreement." The spokesperson told the U.S. to stop proposing nonsense and stop pretending that negotiations are taking place. He added that the West will not see their investments in the region return, and they will never see the former price of oil and energy again. This aggressive response comes after the U.S. floated a 30-day ceasefire and a 15-point plan. The American proposal demanded that Iran completely dismantle its nuclear capabilities, stop all uranium enrichment, and hand over 450 kilograms of highly enriched uranium to the United Nations watchdog. The U.S. also demanded the dismantling of the Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow nuclear facilities that President Trump previously claimed the military had already obliterated. The plan required Iran to abandon its regional proxy groups, keep the Strait of Hormuz completely open, and restrict its missile programs solely to self-defense. In exchange, the U.S. offered to lift sanctions and help Iran with civilian electricity generation. But Iran sees the 30-day ceasefire offer as a military trick. Tehran's leadership stated they believe Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu only want a pause in the fighting to rebuild their stockpiles of munitions and interceptors before launching a new wave of attacks. While the politicians argue the real-world consequences are hitting fast, the global energy market is buckling. Liquefied natural gas, or LNG, from the Middle East is drying up. Places like Taiwan are facing an immediate crisis. Taiwan relies on LNG for 40% of its power generation, and officials confirm they only have an 11-day emergency stockpile left. We are looking at a situation where Taiwan and potentially other nations will be forced to ration power to their industrial sectors. The energy rationing we saw during the pandemic is coming back, and it is spreading globally. At the same time, Iran is trying to capitalize on the chaos to reshape the Middle East. The spokesman for the Iranian armed forces released a statement in Arabic today, making a direct pitch to neighboring Arab nations. He told them they do not need a country thousands of miles away to ensure their security. He accused the United States of viewing Islamic countries as cash cows and urged Arab leaders to learn from the military defeats of 1967 and 1973 by forming a comprehensive unified defense alliance without American involvement. There are also unconfirmed leaks to the American media suggesting Iran might prefer negotiating with Vice President J.D. Vance. However, Tehran has not confirmed this, and military analysts believe it might just be noise coming out of Washington to distract from the lack of progress. Because on the ground, the situation is only escalating. U.S. troops are pushing forward. Elite paratrooper units from the 82nd Airborne Division are heading to the region. The Pentagon has also deployed 5,000 Marines. The Marine Expeditionary Unit aboard the USS Tripoli is scheduled to arrive in the Middle East on Friday. Military sources suggest they are preparing for a potential ground invasion of Karg Island, a critical location in the northern Persian Gulf, where a massive portion of Iran's oil reserves are located. Iran's response to a possible ground invasion was broadcast clearly today. Their military leadership stated, "For years we have been waiting for the American entry. We just have one message for the American soldiers: come closer." Iran is already showing its capabilities. Iranian-backed militias have released footage of successful drone strikes on Camp Victory in Iraq. Using first-person view, or FPV, drones, they have managed to hit multiple targets. The video shows attack munitions striking a parked UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter and an operating Sentinel radar system. Military experts note that Iran is using swarm techniques. They launch dozens of drones at once, mixing armed units with decoys, allowing them to fly around with near impunity and strike high-value targets. It is a clear message that American bases are vulnerable. This brings us to the bizarre exchange that happened yesterday. President Trump held a press conference in the Oval Office where he claimed that Iran had given the U.S. a beautiful gift. He spoke highly of this alleged present. Today, Iranian state media responded. They released footage of a ground-to-ground ballistic missile strike hitting a U.S. base in Erbil, Iraq. The Iranian state broadcast explicitly mocked the president, stating, "This is the gift we send Trump." They also released propaganda videos, including Lego animations, openly making fun of the U.S. administration. Behind the scenes, the rhetoric is turning deadly. On Israeli television, there is open discussion about the potential assassination of senior Iranian political figures, including the foreign minister and the parliament speaker. While sources say the U.S. and Israel are not pulling the trigger on those specific targets just yet, it remains on the table as an option. The violence continues to tear through Lebanon as well. The Lebanese Health Ministry reported Tuesday that Israeli attacks have killed over 1,720 people and wounded nearly 3,000 since March 2nd. Over the last 24 hours, entire blocks in Beirut have been reduced to rubble, with dozens more killed. Back home, financial analysts are raising red flags about market manipulation. Yesterday, when the president talked about a month-long ceasefire, oil prices temporarily dropped down to $86.50 a barrel. But as Iran quickly pointed out, there was no ceasefire. Critics are accusing the administration of floating fake peace deals to artificially pump the markets, only for the reality of the war to crash them days later. Finally, there is the human element. Just 2 months ago, hundreds of thousands of pro-democracy protesters filled the streets of Iran. The president promised them the United States had their back, but no help came, and thousands were killed in a brutal government crackdown. Now, as the administration tries to negotiate directly with the very regime that killed those protesters, the remaining resistance in Iran is left completely abandoned. For a country watching its military assets get hit by drones, its energy markets freeze up, and its diplomatic efforts laughed at on state television, the path forward looks incredibly bleak. We will continue to track the troop movements and the energy markets throughout the night. Have a good evening.